How's it going, everyone? It's David here, and welcome back to another episode of Hemlock Hills, a traditional amusement park that I am building in Planet Coaster 2. In the last episode, placed a whole bunch of rides, including a sky ride, zipper, flying carpet, a wave swinger, and a custom-made auto ride. Also, placed in a couple of food stands, including a tower ice cream stand. Without wasting time, let's jump into my next big project, which will be my first full-scale roller coaster. Now, I already built the Switchback Railway, but that is definitely on the smaller end, but still definitely a nice touch for the park, I feel. But I was originally going to build a traditional wooden coaster, but I wanted to save that for another episode, mainly because I want to put that mainly on the east side of the park, and right now I'm beginning here on the west side. And since I put in somewhat modern flat rides, such as the flying carpet and the wave swinger, I wanted to add a somewhat modern coaster. And I am a big fan of aerodynamics, so I figure a classic aero looping coaster would be just the ticket. Make sure to stick around to the end of this video so you may watch an on-ride POV of this finished coaster. Now, I wanted to build not a super big ride, but big enough to be pretty thrilling and a standout attraction here in this park. The general layout I'm going for is a out and back, and a main inspiration I took was the demon that you can find at Six Flags Great America. Once again, not too big, but it's going to incorporate some tunnels, some rock work, and I'm going to have 4 inversions. I wanted to start this ride off with a bang. After climbing up about 90 feet, you're going to have a 115-foot long drop that goes into an underground tunnel. And coming out of that, you're going to go into a speed hill where you're going to get some very nice negative Gs. Following that, I want to have a double loop, very intense moment as well. And then at the far end, I was thinking of having a high off the ground double helix, and then you drop down afterwards. Now, originally, I wanted to have another helix, this time upwards, that followed afterwards. However, after doing some testing, it was definitely losing a lot of speed during this, so instead I went for another speed hill, only this one is a bit more twisted, and this is going to lead into a double corkscrew. Now again, started to lose some speed here, and I was thinking about changing up the friction settings on this ride, but then I eventually decided to just stick with the base 1.0 friction, and I decided to lower the double corkscrew. I definitely wanted to have a double corkscrew. That is pretty synonymous with these aero looping coasters and pretty iconic visually. So the next best thing was to lower these corkscrews down into a little bit of pits, and then that was when I decided to add the rock work going around it. So as you were flipping through these corkscrews, you're also going to get a head chopper thinking you're going to hit these rocks. And the corkscrew also goes underneath that speed hill, which is a good use of space in my opinion, and this does leave a little bit of an opening right here for a future addition to the park that I have not yet decided. After testing it and seeing the test results, I am pretty pleased with this. This definitely feels like a coaster that would be built in the late 70s, early 80s, which is what I was going for. Now, if you are a Kennywood fan like myself, the color scheme for the track supports and the cars that I chose may look very similar, as I did base this off of the original Steel Phantom that operated from 1991 to 2000 at Kennywood. Never got to ride it, I wish I could, but I always loved the original look and aesthetic of the Steel Phantom. Nothing against the Phantom's Revenge, the green track or the purple track do look good, but man, having this all black with silver supports and the bright yellow and aqua trains just really pop in my opinion, and I wanted to carry that here onto this coaster. Now this ride does look good, but it could honestly look better, and I am now dabbing into custom supports for this ride. Using the latticework structure, I'm going to put this here on the lift hill and the little turnaround after the lift hill. And from a distance, this really does look like a classic aero looper. Now, the corkscrews do come with pre-made supports that are pretty accurate to aero. When it comes to the vertical loops, the supports are not really great in my opinion. So I decided to make my own supports and decided to get a little creative with this, and using the Gerstlauer Infinity coaster, using that track type, it has a triangular lattice work design, and I figure having that and wrapping around the loop and putting some connecting poles that connect to the track, I thought would be a good idea, and I am honestly really impressed with how this turned out. Definitely took some time and patience to line it up just right, but I'm very quite pleased with this. And for the second vertical loop, I basically saved it as a blueprint and copy and pasted it, made a couple minor adjustments, and overall this looks really aesthetically pleasing, and I'm very proud of this. Seeing how this ride is going to run 2 trains, I think it's also appropriate to have a transfer track. I am not using any blueprints for this design. I am only using the basic shapes and coaster supports that come in the base game. And here in Planet Coaster 2, one of my favorite improvements compared to the first game is the scaling tool, how you're able to make these shapes and objects bigger or smaller to your liking, and it really is a game changer. So what I did here was I am adding basically a little guide rail that goes across, and I'm going to have the illusion that yes, this track can slide over to the left or right so that it could store a train when not in use. Now unfortunately in Planet Coaster 2 it does not have that functionality, but wanted to give a little bit of a realism even if it isn't functional. And a good roller coaster needs to have a good station. Again, I'm not going super crazy with this, so having just a simple wooden station. And as I was building this and putting up the sign, I then came up with the name for this ride. Seeing how it is going inside of a cave and it's going to be rough and tumble, a good word that came up to mind was Calamity, and it just stuck with that. Now I did not record myself building this, but using the terrain tool and the letter scenery pieces, I was able to make a very nice little entryway where you're going into this little cave, and it has the word Calamity, not in a straight line. It looks like it's falling apart, and that's done intentional. Okay, this was a bigger project than I was expecting, but I really like how this turned out. So what do you think of Calamity, my custom aero looping coaster? What else would you like to see here in Hemlock Hills? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe for more gaming and amusement park content. And with that being said, thank you all for riding, and I'll see you next time.